Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are looking at supply. We've looked at demand already. Okay, definition. It's the different quantities of goods and services that producers are willing and able to sell at different prices. I forgot the word services there, but goods and services would be better. Okay, we saw the law of demand. Law of supply works in a similar way. As the price increases, the quantity supplied increases. And as price decreases, quantity supplied decreases. Now, why is this? If the price goes up, usually due to demand, if the price goes up, then producers want to sell more because they make more profit per each unit that they sell. So price goes up, they want to sell more. So there will be a large amount supplied. Okay, we looked at non-price determinants of demand. Now we're going to look at non-price determinants of supply. These are things that shift the supply curve. So just like demand, we see different levels of quantity supplied along one supply curve. These are things that shift the curve. So again, I've arranged them to form a word with the first letter, which I hope you will remember. So we're going to go through each in detail again, so you can just get sort of a master list of these and to help you with the word. It's a pretty strange word to use here. Cisterns. Now, a cistern is the back bit of the toilet, behind where you sit, that fills up with water, and that's the water that flushes into the toilet. So every time you go to the toilet, you can think about economics, which is going to be fun. All right, let's get into them. Again, price does not shift them. So as price goes up, they'll supply more, but along the same supply curve. That's the law of supply. Okay. Cost of production. Generally, lower costs, increase in supply. Higher costs equals a decrease in supply. So the cost of those inputs will impact how much is supplied. Strange picture here, got Willy Wonka from the original movie. So best I can tell, the Oompa Loompas, they were slaves. He went and picked them up from Oompa Loompa land. Would have been a lot like the slave trade that you might have learnt about in Year 9 history. Went and picked them up, brought them back to the factory. They don't get to leave. No one comes in, no one goes out, remember? So that would have lowered his cost of production a lot. So increase in supply would have happened there. A couple of more real life examples. Microchips. As microchips have become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper over the years, so has the cost of production of the things that use the microchips, right? That's my dog, different dog, going mental. So decrease in the cost of microchips increases supply. And oil. Oil is a commodity where its price goes up and down. So sometimes we get it really cheap, like during the start of COVID, oil and therefore petrol was really cheap. So it lowered cost of production for any business that uses it. And when the oil price goes up, it increases the cost of production. So it decreases supply. Okay, I think my dog's calmed down now. Indirect taxes. These are taxes on the spending on goods and services by consumers collected by the supplier on behalf of the government. So you actually pay the tax when you buy it, and they have to keep that, pay it to the government. Example, alcohol. Indirect taxes on alcohol. They are pretty high. I think a large proportion of the cost of buying any alcohol in Australia is tax. So what that does is it essentially increases the cost of production. So we'll look at beer here. Let's look at what some of their cost of production might involve. You've got the brewery. That's a big cost, right? You've got the bottles. This isn't an exhaustive list. You've got all the ingredients, all the stuff that goes in there. The labor, right? And the distribution, all the trucks sending it everywhere. So all those costs of production, and plus then for every one that you sell, so for every carton of beer that you sell, you've got a tax that you're going to have to pay to the government. right? So it increases the cost of production, which decreases the supply, shifts the supply curve to the left. Yeah, change the cost of production. Okay, so most of these in supply are really about cost of production. Subsidy. This is the opposite to a tax. You actually get paid per unit that you produce. So, for instance, over the years, subsidies on solar panels. So again, it affects the cost of production. What are some of the other costs of production in the factory? The materials, the labor, the distribution, minus, this time you minus the subsidy off that. So it might be $50 per panel, I don't know. And that actually makes it cheaper to produce, which increases supply and shifts it to the right. Okay, the T is for technological change. So an increase in technology means more efficient production, and that reduces the cost of production. So what we're probably saying over the last year or so, ChatGPT, that's going to make some people be able to work much more effectively. They can get ChatGPT to do some of the more mundane sort of things, which means they can be more productive per hour of their time. So that reduces costs. And same with like big robots that help produce things. Well, there's all these watermarks on that. Big robots that we use to produce cars, they decrease the cost of production because you don't need as many people doing things anymore, and doesn't take as long. Expectations of future price. So we saw this in demand, it's in supply as well. If an increase in price is expected, more supply will be provided by profit incentivized producers. They will step in. So an example of this, World Cup, FIFA World Cup, Russia 2018. You hold a World Cup, you're going to get a lot of young men coming to your country. So something that they found was you get people think, oh, the increase in price of accommodation is going to go up. There's all these people, it's going to be scarce accommodation. So what that happens is a lot of people start to list their extra room on Airbnb if they're near a stadium. So they think they've got a high price, more people are willing to do it. If you think you're only going to get $50 a night for some stranger in your house, you're not really interested. But suddenly you're getting $150 a night for a stranger in your house. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. So it increases the supply in the market if people think there's going to be a higher price. Okay, related goods. This was in demand as well, wasn't it? So, but here it's quite different. Joint supply. So joint supply is where goods are supplied together so two different goods are supplied together from the production of one product. So, for example, this is the best example, I think. A cow, you have all these different cuts of meat from one cow. So if we increase the supply of one, we also have to increase the supply of another. So if chuck steak becomes really popular, farmers are incentivized to produce more chuck steak because they get really good prices for their meat at market if they do that. That's great. But what that means is you're also going to increase the supply of all those other cuts, because you can't just grow chuck steak, you grow a whole cow, and therefore you get all the other cuts as well. Competitive supply. It's where two goods compete for the same resources for production. So if one increases in supply, the other will decrease in supply. So an example of that is corn and ethanol. So it's that sort of plant-based petrol. Sometimes you see at some service stations. So if you increase the supply of ethanol, you use the sort of corn to produce it. So that means there's less corn on the market. And this actually affected the Mexicans a while ago, because Mexicans have a lot of corn in their tortillas. And corn became really expensive because there was a decrease in supply of corn due to the increased supply of ethanol. Okay, number of firms. number firms. I need to learn how to write. Okay, this is pretty simple. More sellers equals increased supply. Fewer sellers equals decreased supply. So, for example, food trucks, more increased supply, and that competition between firms to gain more market share, what that will do is that will tend to lower the price that consumers are charged. And lastly, shocks to supply. Supply shocks are unexpected events that are going to change the supply of a good. So we've got weather events here. So this is on the left here, we have a drought. This is extremely dry land, I think around the middle of Australia during a drought. So these cows, they've got no sort of natural food to eat. So either less cows will be supplied to market because they can't feed them, or the cows that are supplied become more expensive because they have to buy in feed to feed them. Bananas, this is like, look at this price, $13.98 a kilo. That's a ridiculous price. That happened because of a cyclone in northeast Queensland. It wiped out a huge amount of banana plantations. So the bananas that were left had got sold at a higher price. Supply and demand. Okay, here we've got war. War is a supply shock. So here you got buildings like this that have been destroyed. This one's actually still standing. Think about how fewer goods and services can be produced. We've seen the effects of that recently with the Ukraine war in terms of agriculture and fertilizer. Sorry about my dog, just a sec. All right, I think my dog is maybe a bit more under control now. Okay, so war, less can be produced. And there's some good news with supply shocks. This is, unexpected good weather. So like the perfect growing conditions, suddenly you get a much larger supply of your agriculture, and therefore it's going to be an increase in supply out onto the market. Okay, explaining a shift. Now, the curve looks different, right? But it shifts in the same way as before. So decrease in supply shifts to the left, just like a decrease in demand, and increase is to the right. So let's show one. Increase in supply here. This is how you might explain it. Due to the Australian government subsidising solar panels, so you're referring to the non-price determinant, cost of production decrease. It's really important that we refer to cost of production. Examiners love to see it. So where we can, we refer to cost of production when shifting supply. Cost of production decrease and supply increases from S to S1. And we are referring to the diagram, which is crucial. That's just good communication. Okay, that's all we've got for this one. So I'll see you in class.